Romek, you've been holding your powder, as we say, because at this point we want to. This is called Kraków Calling. Okay, this is Kraków Calling to the world. We're actually going to call to Lviv now. I'm hoping this is going to work. It looks to me like it is working. So I'm going to hand over to you, Romek, and you can introduce your colleague there and tell us a little bit.
Cześć, Taras.
Cześć, Romek.
This is a really great thing, and I hope you enjoy the next 15-20 minutes. Taras Skyba is our delivery center manager in Lviv. He runs a center of 360 people doing assurance, tax, and consulting work. He's been with PwC since 2008, and since he was a child. And he's been in the delivery center since 2018. And why Andrew and I thought it would be fantastic if we got him to talk to us today is he does our job, guys. He runs the center, right? He just happens to be in a war zone. And what I thought would be super interesting is to ask him, how's it going? And that's literally, we can start. You know, we watch the TV every single day. I watch it. I promise you, Taras, every day we watch. My wife gets very upset because it is upsetting. Tell us a little bit about what is it really like for one of us being there right now, a center manager living in Ukraine.
Yep. And just to confirm, the group hears me okay, right? The sound is okay. Okay, fantastic. Thanks for having me. I wanted to kick off with a couple words in Polish, if that's okay. Rozumiem, że większość ludzi tutaj to Polacy lub z Polski. Chcę wam podziękować za niesamowite wsparcie, jakie okazujecie mojemu krajowi i naszemu ludowi. Dziękuję bardzo. Thanks so much for having me, and thanks for allowing me to share the experience of our Lviv SDC and how we managed and managing through these incredibly difficult times, and how we are focusing on support to our people. So in terms of how things are going now, I guess the vast majority of our employees, they have decided to stay in Ukraine. Some don't feel safe in the place of their residence. So we arranged for relocations, both within Ukraine and abroad. At this point, we have our staff located in close to 20 countries. Males are not allowed to leave the country. So in case of a male employee, we support their spouses and kids abroad while they themselves stay in Ukraine. I witnessed a few moments of separation, and they are nothing but heartbreaking. At one time, we had two of our employees beyond the occupation line. They spent a few weeks sheltering in their basements with no stable electricity supply or cell phone signal, and limited access to food and water. The times when they both went offline for a few days were absolutely devastating, but luckily they are both safe now. This sometimes makes you think about who gave some hostile nation and their leader a right to impact the lives of so many people. More so now, they hold the world hostage by blocking the wheat export. This war has reached far beyond Ukraine in its 4th month today. We ask people not to come to the office unless there's a critical need. It's a modern building with a lot of glass and is next to a railroad. Some of the explosions happened as close as a few hundred meters from the office. So we tried to minimize the number of staff on the ground. Our civil defense or air raid sirens indicating the aerial threat sound almost daily. We did have a couple of weeks here and there when it has been quiet. But starting some time ago, they sound almost every day. People get used to it. Even my daughter takes it much more calmly these days. She's 8. but she already knows that she has at least 20 minutes to get to safety. That's how much time it takes the missiles launched from Belarus to get to Lviv. In case of the Caspian region launch, that would be 40 minutes. The information, to be frank, I wish she didn't have to know. In case of an explosion, you first hear a loud noise followed by a vibration of your house. Surprisingly, the sound wave of such explosions travels pretty far, and you hear explosions as far as 30 kilometers away from your home, still quite vividly. I tried getting my family to leave. At some point, multiple PwC partners have offered to shelter them for however long is needed, but the kid says that she won't leave without her dad, and so does my spouse. Another reason not to come to the office is the shortage of fuel. The government kept the fuel prices, and that resulted in a deficit. So some stations, they don't sell fuel at all. Some do, but there's a limit of 10 to 20 liters per one car. The fuel's availability also depends on deliveries. And once it happens, you immediately see a huge line of cars there. On average, you can spend 2 hours getting some fuel. So on the positive side, people did become much more environmentally friendly these days. They avoid taking a car, they use public transport, walk and ride bikes or electric scooters. The shortage of groceries that we've experienced in the first weeks seems to be resolved now. We have much more Polish produce in our markets in Lviv these days. That's noticeable. I also think that at this point, pretty much every Ukrainian has someone at the front lines these days. One of our folks is at ground zero. He says that he's as close as hearing them talk. The flyby time of most weapons at such distance is under just 1 second. A relative of mine has recently been discharged from the army after their group came under artillery attack. He was lucky to end up with some non-life-threatening injuries. However, a few guys in his group have been killed. We're doing our best to support those who have joined the army and their territorial defense forces, both financially and by providing them with the necessary equipment. We collect the money through internal fundraising initiative. Then there's a team on the ground working on the list of needs, including search, negotiation, acquisition, and logistics. That's the least we can do for them while they're risking their lives for the defense of our country. And we are certainly hoping they will be back soon, safe and sound.
Agree, Taras, we're with you there for sure. You mentioned things like the petrol lines, and you mentioned a couple of things. What's the inflation? What's the economics? Tell me, is that another angle of hardship now? Yeah.
Economics is holding. It's actually holding pretty well given the circumstances, but the outlook is not very optimistic. So I already mentioned the situation with fuel. The fuel prices have gone up roughly 70%. But even at that price, you still have a mismatch between demand and supply. The FX rate is fixed, but the official exchange rate shows that the local currency has depreciated already by 30%. The optimistic damage assessments to GDP show a forecast of about 20–30% loss. The pessimistic ones go far beyond that, unfortunately. The inflow of people seeking safety in the west of Ukraine has caused the surge in prices, both as it comes to rentals and living costs like groceries. Double-digit inflation is not something new to Ukrainians, but we're likely talking about something in the range of 20s at least.
Yeah. And you mentioned the centre that no one's come in. I'm guessing the centre's closed. You're not doing any work. Nothing at all? No one's working?
No, on the contrary. In terms of the business, I think our staff is doing a fantastic work. I think the worst we have gotten to was 70% of delivery. That was day one. Starting day one, we were always close to 85, 90. And then, within a week or so, we got to 95. And shortly in a couple more weeks to follow, we got to about 100 of the pre-war level. So with some KPIs, I think we are already at the pre-war level. With some KPIs, we have already exceeded the pre-February 24 levels. So the staff is doing just fantastic work. Each of our staff understands that unless they are on the front lines, that this is the best way they can support the country. They keep the currency flowing into the economy. Taxes are paid. They spend their salaries, keep the economy spinning. And this also enables them to support our army men.
I have to share a story which at the time the email went around our whole team, which was one of Taras's team members from Visual Aids. There's about 20 of them. They help with presentations. Wrote to one of my team members, "Why aren't you sending any work?" And it was the 5th day of the war. And we wrote back, "Because you're at war." And the person wrote back, 11 of us are in the office. We have no work. Can you send us something because we want to stay busy? And I wrote to Taras and I said, is this correct? We haven't misunderstood. He goes, "Tell everyone to send work because the staff really want to not be thinking about what's going on outside." And as Taras said, they want to support the economy to drive, keep the wheels moving. I mean, it was so shocking for all of my team members thinking that it was upside down, and then you realise it's logical, isn't it? You just want to do something, yeah. You just keep busy. Taras, final thoughts, please. Can you share with us a bit more?
Sure. And to that quote, Romek, I don't want this to come across as ungrateful, but I think one of the quotes that we have since the first weeks of the war, it was, "Don't send us your compassion, send us some work to do." So that's just, engraved into my head forever. Well, in terms of final thoughts, I'm proud of each Ukrainian and how we're standing up to this unprecedented threat. I don't think that anyone expected Ukraine to withstand the Russian war machine. But after the heroism of the first weeks of the war, when we stood up to Russians almost all alone, the world understood that this is not a lost cause. They all saw that we are fighting for our country, with or without their support. And a fight will be put up regardless of how likely we are to win. I think that and the public opinion pressure has changed the situation radically. And in country, Ukraine is now getting a lot of equipment that it desperately needs. I remain optimistic about us winning the war. It just cannot be otherwise. As the fall of Ukraine, in my eyes, would mean that anyone can do whatever they want without any repercussions. This means chaos. And as much as I don't like banalities, it's a pure fight of good and evil. It's very straightforward in my eyes.
Yeah.
I once again express my gratitude to you and your country for supporting us these dire times. Za wolność naszą i waszą. Dziękuję bardzo.
Thank you. Questions? Anyone not crying? Yeah.
Hard to hold.
Questions? Taras, that was fantastic, my friend. That's exactly what I wanted you to share with us, is the feeling of what it's like being there. Thank you so much.
Not at all, Romek. That's as I said, the least I can do as gratitude to all the support that you guys are showing us. That's unbelievable. A friend in need is a friend indeed, as they say. And I think this is just obvious. So thanks so much.
Thank you. Thank you from all of us. Thank you.